Good afternoon. Captain Justin DeLeon here, Assistant Professor of Military Science at the University of Iowa and also the MS3 instructor. Today we're here to talk about RAID at the platoon level, and actually it's an operation that can only be conducted at the platoon level. So the purpose of today's lesson is to go through a doctrinally sound way of how to conduct a RAID, and we're going to do this in accordance with two references. First reference is ATP 3-21.8, Infantry Platoon Squad, and of course the Ranger Handbook 2017 version, TC 3-21.76. So first of all, let's talk about what a RAID is. All right, a RAID is an offensive operation that we have to conduct. It can only be conducted at the platoon level. All right, a RAID has a very similar setup to an ambush, very similar, but it also has some major differences specifically on the actions on the objective. There are some similarities between it and an attack as well, a platoon attack, but there's some key differences and we want to talk about those. So first of all, let's just talk about a RAID. So within a RAID, there's some key parts that we got to have. All right, so within a RAID, we really have to use speed and surprise to our advantage. So we must be quick and we must retain surprise. All right, that is how we do a powerful RAID that's an effective operation. All right, we have to have violence on the objective, as always with mostly any operation. And then also, the major difference that you're going to find between a RAID and an attack is that a RAID has a planned withdrawal. You will always leave the objective while conducting a RAID. You will never stay on the objective permanently. All right? You may stay there on an extended period of time if necessary, but you will never permanently cease terrain or hold terrain on a RAID. All right, you're meant to withdraw. All right, let's talk about three main elements. There's three main elements that you have to have while conducting a RAID, and it's the same as ambush. You have to have a security element, a support element, and an assault element. Those are all required while conducting the RAID. All right, so we're going to walk through what a good example of a RAID looks like. Again, there are going to be different ways that people do this at the platoon level. I'm going to go through a good, solid way that we can conduct this. All right, so let's go ahead and move over here. We're going to draw out our ORP. So we're going to plan as if we're doing a hasty ORP, which is the U-Iowa SOP. So we're getting that cigar shape. All right, where we got a gun to the 12. We got a gun to the 6 from our weapon squad. We got our Assault 1 squad on the left, Assault 2 squad on the right, and we got our security squad in the center, prepping for our leader's recon. All right. So if you want to talk about movement from our secure position or patrol base all the way through occupation of the ORP, we have some previous videos made up for both those operations. I suggest you go look at those. But for today's operation or today's lesson, we're going to start out of the ORP. So real fast, before I go too far ahead, let's review our 4 squads in accordance with the Ranger Handbook. So we have 4 squads. By function, we have a security squad. We have an Assault 1 squad. We have an Assault 2 squad. And 4, we have our weapons squad. So those are the 4 squads that make up our platoon, and those are the resources that we have to conduct this RAID. Okay, so here we are in our ORP, setting up, getting ready to go. So we need to talk through now who are those individuals that have to go on our leader's recon, because the first thing we're going to do is our leader's recon to go and see how we want to hit this objective. All right, so the people that we need to go according to the Ranger Handbook, I'll put it over here to this side. We got to have the PL and his RTO. All right. We have to have all squad leaders. All right. And we need to have a security element to go and set up on the objective. The way I like to do it and the way we do it here at the University of Iowa is instead of breaking up the security squad, 3/4 go or not, I just take the entire security squad. All right. So we're taking the entire security squad over here. Okay. So that's who we have going on the leader's recon. Next, we got to make sure we have we're doing our prepping of our men, weapons, and equipment. So once we have everyone in the middle that's going on our leader's recon, we're cross-leveling ammunition, we're making sure that we're camoing up, we're reapplying face paint, we are camoing up with grass and sticks and vegetation, putting it all in our body, everywhere we can fit it into our equipment, making sure that we're ready to go, because we're going to recon a live objective, and we need to make sure that we have the lowest amount of signature as possible. So that is a main part of prepping men, weapons, and equipment. And the other key part is our comms, our combo crossover. I've talked about this in some of my other videos, and again, it's key in this operation as well. So to begin, we got comms here, and we got the PL, really it's his RTO, but the PL's got a radio, the PSG's got a radio, and then we got every squad leader. So we got security squad leader, A1 squad leader, A2 squad leader, and then we got our weapons squad leader. Those are where our 6 radios should be to begin with. And we got to cross-level them. And the people that we got to make sure have radios is we got to have our PL still. We got to have our PSG still. But here, we got to make sure that our S&O position, our surveillance and observation point, they're going to have a radio. Our left side security has to have a radio. And our right side security has to have a radio. All right, so we're going to use, some deductive reasoning to find out who needs them. And basically, if our platoon sergeant is going to be co-located with the weapons squad leader during this operation, that weapons squad leader can give up his radio to one of these teams. If that platoon leader is going to be co-located with Assault 1 during this operation, he can also give up his radio during this, because the platoon sergeant and the platoon leader, they're going to be co-located, so they can send whatever traffic or refer whatever traffic they need to that respective squad leader. So anyways, the key is that we got to make sure we cross over enough comms so that these guys have it. That's going to make us successful. That's going to ensure constant communication on the objective, ensure we're ready to go. Okay, so once we've prepped men, weapons, and equipment, we've done the combo crossover, we're ready to SP and go on that leader's recon. All right, the most important part of the operation. Make sure that we plan for an extended period of time to do this leader's recon, because these are very, very important. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move out 6 of the 12 of the ORP. Let's say we're moving out of the 6, and we're going to move towards the objective. Okay, again, main thing, platoon sergeant and medic are counting us out, physically touching us as we move, as we leave this ORP. Making sure that we leave a GOTWA, a 5-point contingency plan with that platoon sergeant as we move out. Once that platoon sergeant counts us out, he is now in charge of that ORP. His role is to disseminate that GOTWA, disseminate all other information necessary to the rest of the ORP. He's also continuing to improve security. Maybe he's setting out claymores to cover dead space, whatever it is that he needs to do to feel confident that if we were taking enemy contact in that location, he could have some defendable, he could be in a good defensive posture to receive that attack. Okay, so PL and his leader's recon are leaving out. So they're going to move, and they're going to move to a release point and establish a halt there at that release point. Once they get to that release point, a great technique, it's not a requirement, but a great technique is to conduct a SEALS halt as well, or a silent listening halt. All right, stands for stop, look, listen, smell. All right, again, to acclimate to the environment, and we're getting close to the objective now. Typically, a release point is not within sight of the objective, but it is often within sound of the objective. So there's a good chance that if we use SEALs, we're going to be able to locate and identify that we're close to that objective. So it's a great technique, and it also ensures that no one has followed you as you moved out of the ORP. Okay, once that SEAL is complete, establish the release point. Now the next thing that the platoon leader's got to do is he's got to pinpoint the objective. So in order to pinpoint the objective, he's going to take himself and the S&O team, surveillance and observation team. So he's going to move forward and establish that S&O team. And the way we typically do it here at the University of Iowa is it's a 3-man team. And 1 man is the security squad leader, because he has comms, he has a radio, and that's going to put him in a central position to manage security around the objective. All right, and we give him 2 soldiers. He's typically going to take an automatic rifleman and a grenadier. And he's going to do that so he has some firepower on the objective. So PL moves forward. He pinpoints the objective visually. He identifies it. He places down his S&O team, who are going to remain with constant eyes on the objective. The purpose of this is obviously to make sure that nothing changes on the objective, or to make sure that if something does changes, that the PL is alerted to that. All right, and also it makes so they have constant eyes on and constant fields of fire on the objective if they need to shoot at it, or if they needed to put suppressive fires on it. Once that's established, PL gives them a GOTWA and then leaves and goes back to a release point. Now, similar to an ambush, the PL must establish security on this objective before he starts to conduct his real leader's recon, looking at his assault or his where he wants to determine to put his assault and his support positions. So he is now going to place his left and right security. All right. Now, again, ideally, if there's time, that platoon leader will personally take his left security and personally place him. He will then move back and take his right and personally place them. If there's time, that is a great technique, and the PL ensures that his security is where he wants them to be, and they're going to be observing what he wants them to observe. All right. However, often we do not have the time to do that, especially if there's major movements here or major distance moves. So what the PL needs to do at the minimum is he needs to go and point on a map, show roughly, obviously not exactly, but show roughly where he wants the security to be positioned and what he wants them able to observe. Because if we had a bend in this road, this is obviously our objective, by the way. If we had a bend in this road and security sets up here looking down the road, can they see around this bend? No. They're probably pretty useless right there. So the PL is going to say, hey, I want you to be at this bend so you can see down the road this way and see down the road this way, or the other way. So that's why the PL needs to definitely at least give some specific guidance to how he wants the security set up. Again, key is where and what he wants them to be able to observe. Okay? So let's say for this instance, he does not have the time allotted to actually go personally and place them. So he gives them where he wants them to be, and they're going to go move out and establish security. So left side security establishes up here on this road, and right side security establishes right here, able to look down this curve. All right. And again, similar to the ambush, at this point in the operation, your security is meant to provide early warning. That's what they're meant to do. They're meant to provide early warning and keep an eye on the avenues of approach moving in and out of the objective. Once the raid is conducted and actions on the objective are happening, now they move into that isolation mode where they are not letting anything in and they are certainly not letting anything out. But right now, they are there to observe and to provide early warning. Okay, once security is established on the objective, we can now begin our leader's recon, our true leader's recon. Okay, so the PL is then going to take his squad leaders, and they're going to go ahead and start cloverleafing and looking to identify where they want those assault positions and where they want those support positions. All the same time, he will remain in contact via FM comms with that security squad leader who has constant eyes on the objective and can tell him, hey, if anything's changing, hey, we've got 3 tanks rolling up, or if it looks like maybe the enemy on the objective has been alerted to their presence, whatever it may be, that's what he's providing. So they're going to begin to move out. And it's best, it may seem, there is a little bit of risk involved, but it is best if you take all squad leaders, minus the security squad leader, to each position, because then those squad leaders can actually talk about TRPs, target reference points. They can talk about how they're going to control fires. They can all speak together from each vantage point and each view. And if you only take one at a time, it removes that communication between the squad leaders. Really, the PL just needs to bring the squad leaders to a point and let them hash stuff out. The PL needs to sometimes take a step back and let the squad leaders work for them. They're the ones that are experts about this stuff, and they're the ones that are going to be able to make a great, make some great fragos to the plan on site, on the spot. All right, so he's going to move out. All right, and let's say he's going to start cloverleafing with his squad leaders up to this position. And let's say he cloverleafs in and he finds a great spot for his support by fire. Let's say there's some elevated terrain here and he wants to put his guns up here looking down onto the objective. All right, this is our objective. It looks like we have a tower here, and it looks like we have 4 homes. All right, so for this instance, let's do this raid. We're moving on this raid to capture, or to kill, let's say, to kill an HVI that's believed to be in one of these 4 buildings. Again, I kind of missed this at the beginning, but the whole purpose of a raid, again, is plan withdrawal. And so typically, not always, typically with a raid, we're moving in to kill or capture something. Whether it's destroy a tower, destroy a building, kill a high-value target or a high-value individual, capture a high-value individual, we're killing, we're capturing, we're getting out. There's also a way to do a raid as a deception operation, but typically that's a little more rare. So we move in, we find our ideal support by fire position. All right, and the platoon leader's like, yeah, this is a good spot for our guns. So the weapons squad leader goes up there and starts reconning those gun positions. And remember, he is definitely getting down in the prone, getting at that bird's eye view, that level for his eyes where he can literally see and ensure that he's going to have fields of fire on the objective from the prone. Sometimes you're up on a little ridge line or whatever, and it looks like, man, this is going to be great. I'm going to be able to lay down great fire on the enemy. And then you get down to the prone, and you get there and you're like, uh-oh, because you can't see over some rocks or over a berm in front of you. Make sure you get down the prone and ensure that you can see it, okay? So we're doing that. At the same time, he's communicating with the Assault 1 and Assault 2 squad leaders, ensuring that they know what's going on, ensuring that they're going to understand the reference points that they're going to use. So, you know, this is a great opportunity. We're looking at this. We say, oh, look, we have 4 buildings. Okay, we're going to use some TRPs. This is going to be TRP 1. This is TRP 2, 3, 4. Hey, my buildings in my operation are also my TRPs, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I have something to work off of. Maybe if you want to make the tower a 5th one, you can. But great way to use actual infrastructure on the objective to your advantage. All right, so we got the exact locations where we want those guns, and now the support squad leader or weapons squad leader and the Assault 1 squad leader feel comfortable. All right, so they got that set up. They're going to move off now. So they're going to move back through. Let's say they move back through the release point, checking with the S&O to make sure nothing's changed. And now they're going to move over here. All right. Again, this is all hypothetical, but they identify, hey, that right side looks good for an assault position. They find a great assault position right here. All right. This is where they want to put their assault. Like, oh man, this is a great spot. We got good cover. Whatever is going to give them a great assault or great line of fire. Maybe they can sneak up to a pretty decently close distance before actually having to go into the open to hit these buildings, whatever it may be. All right. At this point, now the Assault 1, and if we're choosing to use the Assault 2 squad to assault together, all right, they are going to be conducting that, recon, really identifying, hey, I'm going to put my left limit here, I'm going to put my right guy here, I'm going to, I want to be behind these 2 trees, I'm going to strong point here, whatever they want to do to make sure that they're going to be able to accomplish their mission, And again, just like they did up here, they're going to communicate with that weapons squad leader. Now they have this in the forethought of their mind, they know what this looks like, and now the weapons squad leader is down there with him so they can look what the assault looks like. And now they're going to really be able to do a great job and come up with some great fire control measures to control this assault, because there has to be a large amount of communication and direction between that support by fire and that assault, especially at the platoon level. All right, so they've identified it, and they say, hey, we've got 4 buildings on this objective. So we're going to use both assault squads to assault, right? That's up to the PL. He doesn't have to. He could use that assault 2. He could leave him back at the release point. He could leave him back at the ORP as a, as a reserve element and give him some planning priorities for reserve or when to commit him. All right, he can do that. That's often a great time or a great choice. If I only had 1 building on this objective, I probably don't need 2 squads to take it. I probably don't want 2 squads. That's just too many guys, and something wrong could happen. But if I got 4 buildings, he's probably going to use 2, let's say. So let's say they work it out, and they're going to put A1 over here on the left. A1 over here on the left, and they got A2. So assault 1, assault 2 on the right, and they're gonna hit the objective that way. Okay, and they're going to leave a minimal security force back in the ORP to make sure they're tracking security over there. Okay, so they've got this figured out. They see how they want to hit it. All right, a great way to look through this plan as well is, man, that support by fire. Actually, I'll talk about that during actions on. So they're going to move off back to the release point. They move off back to the release point. I'm going to erase these little clover leaves here. Okay. and they're going to leave a GOTWA with that S&O position. They're going to say, hey, objective is yours, security squad leader. Continue to have eyes on it, continue to manage security, continue to let us know what's coming in and out of that objective, and we're going to move back to the ORP, pick up the platoon, and move back. So squad leaders, minus security squad leader, PL, RTO, they're moving back. They're going to call the PSG, say, hey, just let you know we're coming back. Make sure that ruck plan that you're supposed to have done is finalized in the ORP. All right, we're coming back. So they come back. They get in there. PSG obviously counts them in, ensures that the count is right. Obviously, the count's going to be low. He says that's because I left 9 people on the objective, and they're accomplishing security. Okay, once they're in, obviously we're going to identify some things on a raid that have changed a little bit. Maybe we expected 3 buildings and there's 4. Maybe we expected 2 buildings and now there's 10. Whatever it may be, we need to make sure now, once we come back to the ORP, that we go over the changes that have occurred on the objective from our recon, and we do basically another quick frago out to the platoon in the ORP of how we're going to hit this objective and if anything major has changed. Once that has occurred, and once the PL is confident that all men and women in the ORP are tracking, they're going to get up, get ready to move. All right, they're going to move out, tactical formation, and they're going to move to that release point. So we all got up, we moved, all right, moved to this release point, and we're going to establish another halt there. All right, this is where we're now going to begin to establish our positions on the objective. Okay, we always establish support before assault. Always support first. And the reason behind that is yes, support does take longer to get in place, all right? But the major thing is that support is typically further away from the objective. There's less likelihood of them getting compromised moving into the objective, and there's a much higher probability that the assault element will get compromised because they're typically going to a closer proximity in order to assault effectively. So we want our support to be established on the objective so that if the assault does get compromised, we have a support system set up to immediately suppress the enemy, and the assault can either just go straight into the attack, or if we're really, not prepared, maybe break contact if that's what absolutely needed. But typically it's set up so they can just go straight into it if they need to. Okay, so support squad or weapon squad is going to move up. Again, we said the PSG is going to move with them, and they're going to begin to establish. All right. First thing we're going to do is they're going to put both guns down the ground in bipod and start overwatching the objective. Then we're going to start working the tripod for one gun. All right, and once that one gun is set up on the tripod, his metal to metal is good, he's ready to go, then we can set that second one up. But we always got to make sure there's a 240 Bravo oriented on that objective to make sure we're always prepared to put suppressive fires down. Okay. I talked about this in the ambush video, but we got to make sure that our ammo is prepped properly. A great way to do it, we don't want ammo in the dirt, we don't want it to be wet. A great way to do this is I like to put out a poncho, put the tripod on the poncho, guns in the tripod. I like to pull out the ammo of the boxes. You can even, put a couple boxes set up ready to go. Start linking your ammo. So you got at least 200 rounds to flow at a time, maybe 4, maybe 800. Whatever it is, whatever it may be, you need to set that up deliberately, and not just trying to find ammo at the last second. Everything needs to be set up perfectly so you can reload and relink whenever you need to. All right, so once that position is established, good. Now we're ready for the assault position to move into place. So that's weapon squad leader, or really the platoon sergeant, because he's the one that still has comms for sure, calls the PL, says, hey, sir, we're good to go. Weapon squad is set. We got eyes on the objective. We got fields of fire. You guys are good to set in your assault. Platoon leader moves up with the assault 1, assault 2, and they move up and they occupy their assault positions. Okay, so they're moving in, setting those up, all right? And basically, that's going to be a deliberate process as well. That is probably a very, very slow process with a lot of low crawl, a lot of high crawl maybe, getting into position. It's going to take time, all right? You're not just walking up onto the objective and getting down. But in the end, once all that is set up, once A1 and A2 are confident they're correct, the squad leaders are confident that the left limit understands his limit, the right understands his, all right, on both sides, we're good to go, okay? Now we're in a position to initiate this objective, initiate this raid, okay? There's some great ways to initiate, all right? Typically, we like to initiate with the most casualty-producing weapon, which is the 240 Bravo. Yes, I know, the 240 Bravo is an open bolt weapon system. Sometimes there's a risk that open bolt weapon systems misfire. There is nothing in any doctrine that you will ever find that says you cannot initiate with an open bolt weapon system. The doctrine says most casualty producing weapon, which is the 240 in this instance. So that's what you use, all right? Another way that is possible to initiate, however, what I will say is if you want to put in, if you're not concerned about damage to buildings or infrastructure, you can put a fires target in there. So if we got a fires target, maybe by this this tower here, we can fire that fires target, and that will initiate the ambush. That's a great way as well, and it gives away no one's position. So that could work. There's lots of ways to do this, but yeah. Okay, so once we've got that completed, all right, we're going to then, so we're initiating. So weapon squad is going to open up, all right? So looking at what this I have, this is kind of like an easy objective because I got 4 perfect buildings on there. But a great technique now is to use these target reference points that you've made, 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe you got gun 1 here, and they're shooting at 1 and 2. And you got gun 2, and they're initially firing and suppressing buildings 3 and 4, okay? So you got all these buildings taken care of, okay? We do not want to initially open up with our assaulting elements. Why? Give away our position. Yes, we achieve crossfire if our assault opens up, but it also gives away our position. We don't want the enemy to know where we're assaulting from. So don't have the assault open up until absolutely necessary. Okay, these assaulting squads, they start beginning to inch forward. They're moving forward. They are going to move to the last covered and concealed position. So maybe it's the edge of this wood line, whatever it may be, they're going to move to the last covered and concealed position and get to a point where they're ready to assault these buildings. Okay, it's now time to assault. So what do? We're going to call a shift fire. All right, whatever technique you want to use. If it's yelling shift fire, you're probably not going to hear it in this instance. If it's whistle blasts, if it's a star cluster, if it's whatever you can do. If you're a buzzsaw of some kind thrown in the air, whatever resources you have, get that shift fire over there. And then you have to have confirmation from them that they have received it. So if you shoot a star cluster, they probably need to shoot one back so you're confident that they've done it. Or a lot of times, a good technique that I've heard is, so these guns, they're shooting back and forth, right? Gun 1, then gun 2, then gun 1, then gun 2. Once you see that star cluster saying shift fire, they both fire, a 10-round burst together. And now that's confirmation, hey, I just heard they shoot together. That's their confirmation that they're shifting fire. Lots of techniques to do it, but anyways, you got to confirm. So they shift fire. So likely if you're going to shift fire and start assaulting these buildings, gun 1's fine. They're still shooting at gun 1, gun 2, no issue. So gun 2 is probably going to change its course and start shooting at gun 1 and gun 2 as well. So we're going to continue to suppress these buildings up here while we begin to take these buildings in the south. Okay? So let's say the way we're going to do this is we're going to take building 3 and then building 4 and kind of leapfrog our way up. So a great technique is Alpha 1's responsible for taking building 3, Alpha 2 is responsible for taking building 4. However, again, what we want to do is we want to try and use suppressive fires while someone maneuvers. That's a key rule that we always got to remember. Whenever I'm moving, whenever I'm assaulting any position or moving around in any way, I should have a buddy covering me, all right? Or I should have a team covering my team, or a squad covering my squad, whatever it may be. So A2, they can begin laying suppressive fires down on building 4 and begin suppressing that building, ensuring any enemy in there are suppressed and can't effectively fire outside of it. While A1 begins to move up to building 3. And they're probably moving in teams. So A1's probably got a team. All right, let's make this a little different here. Let's square it out here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So A1's probably got, they got their Alpha Bravo team. So their first team is moving up. And the way you typically assault in a raid, and it says this in accordance with the Ranger Handbook, is you assault in a tight wedge. It doesn't say on line, it says on a tight wedge. And what that does is it gives you flexibility. So they're going to move in that tight wedge, and they're going to stack on that door or whatever. They're going to move in and clear it, right? So they're going to clear building 3. So you got that Alpha team in there. Alpha team takes it, and then that Bravo team follows suit, and they get both teams in there. So now Assault 1 has taken building 3. Okay? And now what can happen is Assault 1 can start to suppress building 4. while Assault 2 sends their teams forward, and they go in, they stack, and probably in here when Assault 1 sees them moving through open ground to get to the building, they're probably calling off their fires and doing a ceasefire. These guys go in, they clear the building and take it. Then the Bravo team comes up as well, and then they take that building. So now we got A1 in here completely, we got A2 in here completely, okay? All at the same time, we still have both guns suppressing building 1 and building 2. And this is how we leapfrog it. And we just continue to suppress and help each other out as we bound and take these buildings. Now we're going to take buildings 1 and 2 just like we took buildings 3 and 4. So these guns, now we're going to have to call a lift fire or a ceasefire, right? So gun 1 and gun 2 are going to have to stop firing. So from here, A2 is going to have to probably suppress 1 and 2 while Alpha 1 moves up and stacks. And you're probably keeping your Bravo team here, and your Alpha team is just going to move forward, whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. But these guys lift fire from shooting at 1, and now they're just shooting at 2 while these guys go in and clear. And now we got our Alpha team in here. We got our Bravo team in here. It's getting a little crazy. Let me draw this out a little better. So we got our A1 Bravo and our A1 Alpha in here. Taking both those buildings. And now these guys can cover while, let's say, the Alpha team from A2 moves up and takes this building again, moving that tight wedge, stacking and moving. All right, so final, what this looks like is we got our Alpha team from A2, all right, and we got our Bravo team from A2 down here in building 4. So now we've taken all these buildings, and we've probably killed the HVI and built that ended up being in, let's say it was in building 2 that we came here to kill. All right, so we've accomplished our mission there, all right, and now we're establishing security on this objective. So remember, sometimes with an infrastructure, it's a little bit different. You know, if this could be out in the woods, there could be no buildings, and it could still be a raid because you need to kill an HVI that's at like a small camp and then you're leaving. For this example, I used buildings just because I thought it was good to show how we can leapfrog and support each other as we take buildings, but it doesn't have to be that way. All right, now we're doing what we do right away. Once we take an objective, we establish 360 security. So if we have infrastructure, do we need to get out and get in this large perimeter? No. We're probably pulling security out these windows. You know, we probably can pull on the corner of these houses out this way, whatever we're going to do. We can probably move these guns down, put them on a corner here, looking out this way where we're susceptible, probably put a gun on this road right here, an avenue of approach into this objective. All kinds of things that we can do, but we're going to get security on this objective. All right. Once security is established, all right, first thing we got to do to really, actually, to not even, once security is set, now to get full security and get established, we got to get those EPW reports. So PL starts running through his actions on the objective or his special teams. He's calling EPW. EPW is going to each building, and they're clearing, primary and alternate most likely, they're clearing all those guys that we've killed, all those enemy KIAs. All right, they're not searching, they're killing because we need to find out that everyone's dead first so then we can start moving in our priorities of work. So we find out, hey, all enemy is clear at this time. Okay, Roger, go ahead and start searching. Now the PL knows we are entirely secure. And now if we have friendly casualties, he can begin calling aid and litter to the center. He can call the medic in and start working that piece and start working a medical evacuation if necessary, whether that's ground or air, whatever means necessary. Okay? Once aid and litter is complete, now it's time to move off this objective. We have accomplished our mission, which is kill HVI. We have cleared and searched all EPW for intel and PIR. We have taken care of friendly casualties. All right? Now it's time to remove ourselves from the objective. All right? So if there's equipment on here that we need to destroy, we need to have a demo team come in and move that. So we're going to likely have our demo team in, come and start setting charges. Let's say we're going to set charges right here. All right? The demo team's going to move in, so for getting ready for us to move out the objective. Okay? So withdrawal plan. Withdrawal plan on a raid or an ambush is typically where this goes to hell. All right? We have to have a deliberate plan to withdraw. This is where everyone screws up. We feel like we did a great job. They say, hey, time to get out the objective, everyone get off. And everyone just picks up and gets off. It's got to be systematic. It's got to be deliberate. Okay? All right, so time to get off. Call the demo team in, and they're moving in. Now, again, the way we do it here at Iowa is we do the whole red, white, blue to get out the objective. I've also heard it, we used in Ranger School, we use Demo 1, Demo 2, Demo 3. Whatever method you want to use, we're going to get off in this order. All right, we're going to get off assault, support, and then security. All right, so we're getting off ass backwards from the way we got on. So when we came on, security went first, then support, and then assault. When we come off, we're going to go backwards. Assault first, then support, then security. So the PL is going to call that code word. Again, we like to use red, okay? So he says red, red, red. So the assault squads are picking up, and they're exfilling off that objective, okay? Now, key point is how do we exfil and make sure we maintain accountability, okay? Again, deliberate part of the Ranger Handbook states that we have to have a choke point with that platoon sergeant. So that platoon sergeant likely sets himself up on the edge of this objective, probably near the S&O, whatever it may be, all right, with the medic, and he's ensuring that everyone comes through them, and he is counting them off the objective, and they collect at the release point. So everyone comes through that choke point, and he's ensuring that he sees every single person, probably not he sees, he is grabbing and touching every single person, and he is seeing their weapon with them as well. He's seeing their sensitive items. He is making sure they've got everything they need to get. So assault comes off, then he calls in support, so the guns that were out here come back in, all the support personnel come back in, and move off the objective through that platoon sergeant to the medic as well. So he's confident he's got the support, he's confident he's got his assault off the objective, okay? And now we're ready to get security and demo off the objective. So we call it blue, security, security. So security comes, all right? You can, however you want to do it, you can have security go after the release point. Sometimes people like the security to come actually in and come through the platoon sergeant as well. Whatever way you deem necessary to make sure that you feel comfortable with the accountability. All right, and that demo team blows the charge, and him and the PL move out as well, and we all collect back at the release point. I highly recommend that you don't just go straight back to the ORP. Sometimes the ORP might be 300 meters away. If this is night, people are going to get lost. I don't care if you have night vision devices. They're going to get lost. Meet back at the release point, get accountability there again of all personnel and equipment, and make sure you move back to the ORP as a unit. All right? I highly recommend that. It's going to work much more effectively. Accountability here, accountability here. You're confident you've done it. You're confident that you've got all you need, and you're moving back off. So from there, we move back to the ORP. We reestablish security. We get our rucks, and then most likely we're moving to that follow-on patrol base, or we're calling higher for follow-on operation, or for a follow-on operation, or for further guidance. All right. So again, main thing I want to hammer home is that speed is key here. Speed and surprise. And part of that speed and surprise is violence on the objective. Once we're suppressing that enemy, those assault squads or that assault squad is hitting it hard and fast. They are not leaving any time for the enemy to react. They are in and we are out, okay? Now, what I'll say is, again, there is not a standard for how long we stay on these objectives, all right? A lot of numbers I'll hear out there for ambushes and raids is a 7-minute standard. It's not a doctrinal standard. It's a good thing to aim for, all right? But would I rather be on an objective 9 minutes and get all my actions done than rush off in 7 minutes and not be sure that I got everything done? Of course, okay? Now, if you get word that enemy forces are moving into your AO, if your security says, hey, we got 3 enemy tanks moving down the road, whatever it may be, then yeah, obviously we got to get off. But don't be in a rush to get off these objectives without actually completing all your actions. Okay, and last thing to mention about that is, yeah, so let's say we're on a raid, we find some major intel that we need to exploit. Hey, I had a great conversation with, I have some great conversation with some Rangerback guys, and there's a lot of people that have done legit, like really well performed, well planned raids downrange, and they stay on an objective for an hour maybe because they found some intel that they needed to exploit. Okay, they are still withdrawing from the objective, but it may not be as fast as they originally intended. And as long as you have constant security, as long as you're confident that there's no enemy in the area or enemy counterattack is not on its way, don't rush off. Do what you need to do. All right, there is not a time standard. All right. Well, I hope you learned something today. I hope that this was a good example for you to gauge off of when it comes to platoon raid. Again, things we got to have: speed, surprise, violence on the objective, plan withdrawal, and we got to make sure we always have security, support, and assault. All right. Thanks for listening. Again, my name is Captain Justin De Leon, and Rangers lead the way.